This speech may be remembered for more than anything, the end of the speech when the president was talking about the victims of gun violence in this country. A number of victims of gun violence were invited to be in the House chamber tonight to hear the president's speech, and the president brought up one young lady in particular. Her name is Hadia Pendleton, 15 years old. She was in Washington for the president's inauguration, performing with her high school as part of the festivities. But several days ago, back home in Chicago, this honor student was shot and killed randomly in gang violence that was not directed at her specifically, but just gunshots that pierced through a crowd. It was 1 mile from the president's home in Chicago. Here's a little bit of what the president had to say at the end of his speech about the victims of gun violence and the legislation that the president is proposing.
Hadia's parents, Nate and Cleo, are in this chamber tonight, along with more than 24 Americans whose lives have been torn apart by gun violence. They deserve a vote. They deserve a vote. They deserve a vote. Gabby Giffords deserves a vote. The families of Newtown deserve a vote. The families of Aurora deserve a vote. The families of Oak Creek and Tucson and Blacksburg and the countless other communities ripped open by gun violence, they deserve a simple vote.
The president calling on the House of Representatives and the Senate to vote on his gun legislation. The president said, even if you intend to vote no, at least have a vote, because these victims of gun violence deserve at least that much. Nancy Cordes is our Capitol Hill correspondent. And Nancy, you've been speaking to a number of people today, victims of gun violence, who were invited into the chamber.
That's right, Scott. Members of Congress get one guest ticket that they can give to whomever they choose to sit up in the gallery above the lawmakers. And a few weeks ago, a congressman from Rhode Island, Jim Langevin, he's a Democrat, a quadriplegic after being shot himself accidentally in the neck when he was just 16 years old. He had the idea to invite someone who had been touched by gun violence. Well, that idea spread, and tonight there were about 30 victims of gun violence, including Gabby Giffords, as you mentioned, up in the gallery. I spoke to one of them, Carolyn Murray, earlier this afternoon. Her son Justin was gunned down in front of his grandmother's house in Evanston, Illinois, just 3 months ago. She was invited by Congresswoman Jan Schakowsky of Illinois, and they're hoping that their presence there, they weren't speaking, but just the fact that they were there would send a message to lawmakers down below that they really want to see action on this issue.
Nancy, thank you very much.